Welcome back. We saw another huge upset in a Democratic primary on Tuesday night, this time in the state of Florida. Tallahassee Mayor Andrew Gillum defied the polling to win his party's nomination. Gillum is an unapologetic progressive, and he's up against a similarly unapologetic Trump supporter, Republican Congressman Ron DeSantis. It's base against base. The race has national implications. Will help determine whether it is safe for the two parties to so-called abandon the middle and appeal primarily to firing up their bases. On day one of the campaign, DeSantis said this.
He is an articulate spokesman for those far left views, and he's a charismatic candidate. The last thing we need to do is to monkey this up by trying to embrace a socialist agenda with huge tax increases and bankrupting the state.
DeSantis and his campaign insist that the use of the words articulate and monkey this up had no racial connotations. Gillum says DeSantis is employing Trump-style politics. Quote, they no longer do whistle calls. They're now using full bullhorns, is what he said. Well, joining me now is the Democratic nominee, Andrew Gillum. And by the way, for viewers, we did invite Congressman DeSantis to appear this morning. Second invitation we've offered on various programs, but he declined again. Mayor Gillum, welcome to Meet the Press.
Thank you so much for having me, Chuck. And I just want to quickly say that yesterday's display of true patriotism was something to behold in today's America. I was inspiring, and all of the speeches really moved me personally.
Thank you for sharing that. Let me start with the start of this campaign. You had that back and forth with your opponent. A neo-Nazi group launched some really ugly robocalls. I don't even want to give the name of the group or anything because they're just, I think, just trying to get free publicity here. Are you satisfied with how quickly Republicans shot down that neo-Nazi call? And does that reassure you that they don't want to make race an issue in this campaign?
Well, I mean, I think what's important is that Mr. DeSantis and obviously the president really try to go high on this thing. We cannot afford to weaponize race and to go to the bottom of the barrel here. And honestly, people are going to take their cues from what their leadership says. And in this case, Ron DeSantis is the leader. And therefore, he's got to be very, very careful about how he addresses these kinds of issues. I'm pleased to see them decry those robocalls. But it's also important that Ron DeSantis take control and ownership of his own rhetoric and words. Because we already know that given the highly sensitive nature we now find ourselves, that people take their cues and sometimes they act out in ways that go far beyond what is appropriate in today's environment. You
do not think Congressman DeSantis is a racist, do you?
I have not called him a racist.
I know you haven't.
What I simply said was that his rhetoric, in my opinion, has to be toned down. That what I will call him is someone who has worked to undermine the healthcare system, someone who has decided to join with Donald Trump in giving more and more money away to the largest and wealthiest corporations and less to regular, everyday working people. I'm happy to debate him on the merits of public policy. I am not going to get into the gutter and name call. That's not what Florida voters are interested in, and certainly that's not why I ran for governor. I'm here to talk about the issues that confront the people of our great state.
You ran as an unabashed progressive Democrat. You're for Medicare for all. You've talked about getting rid of ICE and some things there. But I'm curious, one of the things, you were supported by two billionaires who came in and helped your campaign, and largely your campaign early on was funded by them, George Soros and Tom Steyer. How do you square sort of a populist, progressive campaign that wants to get big money, you know, among other things, get big money out of politics, get dark money out of politics, and yet it's billionaires that have to prop up your campaign?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm obviously deeply appreciative of Mr. Soros as well as Mr. Steyer, both men whom I've known for some time. But the truth is, Chuck, that our campaign was really propped up by a lot of small contributions, including my mother, who was on auto deduct of $20 a month into our campaign. In the first 2 days of this general election, our campaign has been buoyed this first week, raising over $2 million by everyday folks, not big contributions, but everyday folks sowing a seed into our race. And I honestly think that that is what is going to help us win on November 6th is these everyday folks deciding to sow a seed into this race.
Do you think the Democratic Party is giving you enough support? I saw the Democratic Governors Association made a $1 million investment. It can sound like a lot of money, but this is the state of Florida. I think there's 17,000 media markets in the state of Florida by last count. I'm exaggerating slightly. $1 million. Some Democrats say there was a zero missing there. Do you think they're showing you enough support?
Well, I will tell you, Chuck, I have every anticipation and expectation that the DGA is going to come into this race strong. One, and you know this being a homeboy yourself, that the implications here in Florida are so great, not just in this race for governor and the cabinet, but also the United States Senate. I really do think the pairing of Bill Nelson and myself and the other members of the cabinet, not to mention the legislative races, are very, very critical for 2020 implications. And so I fully expect that they're going to come in and have our back. But the truth is that we're not going to wait or rely on that. We need everyday people to sow a seed into this race. We really are trying to run a campaign very similar to we run the primary, which is through the strength and the support of everyday folks willing to sow a seed into this campaign. Now
that you've been propelled a bit on the national stage, a lot is getting more scrutiny. The New York Times this morning dives a little deeper into the FBI investigation that's been taking place into the city of Tallahassee. And I've read the story completely. You have said that the FBI has told you you're not a focus of the investigation. But I have a few questions. So first is, when did you find out this was a sting operation?
Well, this came to light for me, I assume sometime last year when I was first contacted by two agents that wanted to talk to me. I spoke to them for 20 minutes. In that meeting, they told me that obviously I was not a target of their investigation and asked me questions specifically about someone else. But what we've tried, and I think it's important to point this out, that I nor the city of Tallahassee is under investigation. We have worked to be as cooperative as we can because, as I've said, anyone who has done anything wrong ought to be held fully accountable. Now, contrast that to Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump. Ron DeSantis and Trump have worked at every step to undermine the work of this important agency. The president going so far as to suggest a deep state. What we've said is we want this thing resolved, and anyone who has done anything wrong should be held fully accountable. And I think that's how you deal with these kinds of things, not by standing in their way and obstructing any form of justice.
Well, as you know, there's perception and there's reality. So let me ask this. Have you changed your behavior as a public official given this experience you've gone through?
Well, I will tell you, I am obviously a lot more circumspect about everything. I think part of being elected at the age of 23 and not really having to be, overly cautious or distrustful at the local level, as I think I was a bit naive that everybody who comes into my space has good intentions. And I honestly don't know that I would have changed any of my interactions, but I will tell you it has certainly made me a lot more scrutinous as we run this race and as we move forward to ensure that I'm surrounding myself and allowing people in my orbit who only have good intentions for me and for my family and frankly for my community.
And before I let you go, in the New York Times, they'd said you were going to provide receipts having to do with, I think, a couple of trips that you did with a lobbyist. The receipts haven't been provided. Should we expect that soon?
You absolutely should. And I'll tell you, my commitment is to make every receipt available because I have nothing to hide. Unfortunately, Chuck, I've got one interview left with the Ethics Board. That's this week. And following that, we will make those fully available. I just wanted to make sure that the process worked the way it was intended to.
All right. Andrew Gillum, I'm going to leave it there. The new Democratic nominee for governor in Florida. Thanks for coming on and sharing your views, sir. I appreciate it. Stay safe on the trail.
Thanks for having me.
You got it.
Thank you.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and then click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.